Hey YouTube, what's up? It's Outlaw Trucker here, and I've got an update for you on orientation, lease purchase over here at CRST. This is a 2-day update because yesterday I downloaded a video, or recorded a video, and the file size just came out like 4 gigabytes, and it just wouldn't even load into my computer. It was too big for my old computer running Windows 7 to process. So going to do a 2-part update today because I didn't have time to re-record it last night. Yesterday was third day of orientation. No, today was the third day. Whatever. Yesterday was the second day of orientation, and again, the first part was quite redundant. It was a bunch of safety training, winter driving, pre-tripping, post-tripping, stuff like that. Everything that most of us experienced drivers are already very familiar with, and a lot of boring videos. But if you're new to the industry and you don't know any of this stuff, I can see how it would be very helpful. Just for me, it was a bit redundant and kind of boring. But then after lunch, we went through we went over to the lease operator class where they covered fueling, fuel tax, IFTA, the different zones in the country where you've got line haul or head haul, back haul, different rates and all that stuff. And the class in that respect was very, very informative. And with that in mind, I just want to talk a little bit about lease purchasing in general, because if you think that you want to be a lease operator and you haven't done your homework, you're probably going to fail, because it's an awful lot of work. A lot of the people in this class, you could tell they didn't read anything. They didn't even read the informational packet that was sent out from the recruiter explaining the leasing process. Their questions were just obvious that they didn't do any research into this whatsoever. All they see is you can make this much money, and they come over and then they don't even bother to try to read anything when they're at the hotel at night. They just don't care. And those guys, they're not going to make it. You have got to do your homework. You've got to do your research. You've got to be prepared. This is running an industry where you are maintaining and operating a federally regulated vehicle. There are a ton of expenses. You're going to be bringing in and spending a lot of money, and in order to be successful at that, you really have to know exactly what you're doing. So with that in mind, I've brought up a document here on screen, and this is from the OOIDA website. OOIDA is the Owner Operator Independent Driver Association. I'm going to leave a link to this down below. This is their lease purchase calculator. Now, I have made some changes, so if you go and look at this lease purchase calculator, it's not going to look exactly like this. I've added some extra tables in here. I've lengthened and added in different categories. I've renamed it, and I've added in a bunch of notes because I wanted this to be specific for CRST, so that way you guys could see what the lease purchase plan look like. So we're going to start talking about this, and I'm going to have to try to keep this video sort of short. So what we're looking at here is the independent contractor lead driver at CRST projected minimal income. Now, in this table here, you see the first table on the left is assumptions. This is compensated miles. Uncompensated miles are 10% with a total mileage driven annually of 170,500. Keep in mind, I'm going to be a lead driver training students, so I'm not going to be driving 170,000 miles solo. The compensation rate per mile, I've set at $1.60. Student miles driven annually is going to be 80,000, and as a lead driver and lease operator, you are required to pay 12 cents per loaded mile that the student drives. So there's the 12 cent in there. Fuel price per gallon, I've set high at $3.75. Average mile per gallon is 6.5. I just got word about my truck today. I'll go over that in a minute, but it should be averaging about 7. So it's going to cost me 57 cents per mile to operate the truck. It's going to cost me $98,365 per year to operate the vehicle in fuel. The maintenance here is 15 cents a mile. That's per loaded mile. And the maintenance cost is fixed at that rate depending on how many miles you drive. For me, it's going to cost me $25,575 a year. Some of you guys are thinking that's a bit high, but If you blow an engine, it's not high at all. If all you do is pop a few tires, yeah, it's high. This is one of the highest rates in the industry in the lease purchase program. However, it gives you a 3-year bumper-to-bumper coverage, which is excellent. And that is for the length of your lease. Well, actually, it goes, so I have a 3-year lease, so a 4-year lease, so it's going to be the first 3 years I'm going to have full coverage. The last year, that rate is going to drop down to 13 cents per mile, and it's only going to cover basic preventative maintenance and tires. My weekly lease payment is set at $500. It's going to be $499, so my annual lease payment is $26,000. Now we're going to scroll down here just a little bit and look at these notes. So that mileage that I have up there of 155,000 is based off my student driving 2,000 miles in the first week, 5 days. They're required to drive for 3 days with you in the jump seat. They can go 3 to 5 days. That's what they're looking at. If they're after 5 days, they can't drive and you can't sleep, you probably need to get them off the truck because you're not going to make any money. But that could have its downfalls too, because the next student that you get may end up needing that 3 to 5 days, and then you're basically running solo for 2 weeks, and that's not profitable. You're not going to hit your bottom line, and before you know it, you're going to end up getting yourself in debt with the your bottom line. You're not going to hit your bottom line and your weekly expenses, which are about $820 just to pay your bills to operate the truck. You're probably going to have a hard time meeting that and making money to buy food and stuff like that. So with that being said, that's 2,000 miles in the first week, 5 days. Then after that, going into team driving mode, where you, the lead driver, will drive 2,500 miles per week or 500 miles per day in a 5-day week. Obviously, that's not always going to be like that. It could be more, it could be less. And the student continuing to drive 2,000 miles per week or 400 miles per day times 5 days, for a total mileage of 15,500 per month at 10 months. The reason why I have that is because if you work 4 weeks out and take 4 days at home, that gives you 45 working weeks per year, or 1 week shy of 2 months off. So fuel rates are based on the highest I've seen, which is $3.75. Miles per gallon is a fair estimate with a fuel-saving minded driver. Surcharge and rate per mile, compensated miles, are based on a low average. Now that's up here in this table, and I'll talk about that in a second. Annual lease payment is set $50 a week, greater than contract stipulations. I created this the other day. Actually, the lease payment was $449. I have an automatic, so it's $499. So that actually no longer applies. Uncompensated miles are for deadhead, bobtail, trailer hunting, fuel stops, and deadheading home, and that's part of that 10% that we saw up here earlier, 10%. So I figure I'm going to drive at least 15,000 miles a year, trying to get home, trying to get to fuel, try to get trailers and stuff like that. Let's move over to compensation. Gross compensation in miles, $248,000. That's 155,000 compensated miles at a rate of $1.60 per mile. We have a fuel surcharge in here of 20 cents per mile. That is obviously going to vary, and that is a low estimate. Like I said, this is the projected minimal income. Surcharge total for the year, $31,000, bringing your total gross compensation up to $279,000. Here's your direct costs. Fuel moved over from this category, $98,365. Maintenance moved over from this category, $25,000. Student cost, $9,600. That's 80,000 miles at 12 cents per mile. Miscellaneous expenses here is for cleaning items and stuff like that. Qualcomm fee, you have to rent the Qualcomm. You have to pay your highway use taxes. Certain states require that you have occupational or workers' comp insurance on yourself. These are the states in which that is required. It is required for me, so it's going to cost me $1,700 a year. Licensing, $1,700 a year. Permits and plates, $2,000 a year. TransFlow, which is the TransFlow mobile app where you can scan documents into the office, $180 a year. Fuel optimization. This is the part of the computer system on your truck that tells you where the best fuel stops are. You don't necessarily need to use this, but it's really great because it fuels out the best prices and the tax rate for each state, because without going into a real complicated scenario, you might think Ohio with a rate of $3.30 per mile or $3.30 per gallon, and Pennsylvania with a rate of $3.50 per gallon you want to fuel in Ohio. But Pennsylvania has a 74-cent fuel tax to where Ohio has a lower fuel tax. So if you deduct those taxes from the overall mile per gallon price, then you're going to see that Pennsylvania actually has the cheaper fuel, and Ohio's taking advantage of it and bumped up their rate, so they still look better than Pennsylvania, who's right across the border, but you're actually paying more once you subtract those taxes. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but we can maybe talk about that again later. Tolls and scales is an estimate, $5,000. Okay. Physical damage insurance, $3,200. Bobtail liability insurance, $360. Cargo insurance, $1,800. There's the occupational health line right there. It actually looks like I have that in there twice, so I did make a mistake there. So that's going to add $1,800 to my bottom end here that I didn't actually plan on. Bookkeeping, $1,000. I'm going through ATBS. It's a service. It's nationwide. I get a discounted rate because I'm working for a major carrier. Reserve escrow, $6,820. That is 4 cents per compensated mile that I'm setting aside. This reserve escrow at 4 cents a mile will cover the weekly costs associated with the truck while you're on home time with a bit extra. If you go on home time for those 2 weeks, you're not going to take 2 weeks off at once, but every time you go on home time, it's for a week. So this keeps adding up, and eventually you're going to end up being in the hole if you're not setting aside something to pay for that. Okay, so net income before taxes, $87,297. That is the worst case scenario. This is with a student who isn't driving. Okay, he's only doing 400 miles a day. This is with you barely driving at 500 miles a day. Okay, this is with a extremely high fuel cost. This is with a below average compensation rate and a below average fuel surcharge. So with that in mind, $87,297 projected minimal income. I recommend planning and setting aside 24% of your net income in an interest-bearing account to save for your quarterly taxes. If you spend too much money, you will not successfully complete this lease. Let me repeat for you new guys out here. When you see that first check and it's $4,000 and you go out and spend $3,000 on a big gold chain or something, guess what? You're setting yourself up for failure. You need to act like you're still living on a budget, and you should budget your personal expenses. And I do budget my personal expenses, and I do my due diligence to stay within my personal budget and try not to spend things that I don't need until I've got a nice egg going, and then I can prioritize the things that I want and the things that I need to do. So $66,346 in actual profit after taxes. That is the very worst projected income as a lease operator / lead driver here at CRST. It's still better than a company driver, but it's not great. But like I said, projected minimal income. All right, let me bring this up and stop this. I've got a program recording my screen here. Now we're going to talk about today. Today, I had my ATBS tax training course. I met my fleet manager, filled out and signed my lease paperwork and independent contractor agreement, and got my truck. Now my truck isn't here, but I know what it is. It is a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia. It's got 400 and some change thousand miles on it. It is located down in Dallas, Texas. The truck has been completely gone through, and when I get down there, I'm going to do a video walk around of that so you guys can see what it's all about. I have a minute and a half to finish this video because I'm a new YouTuber and it caps at 15 minutes. So I hope that this video was informative to you. I'm going to keep you up to date. Tomorrow I start the lead driver course, which is what you need to do to be a trainer over at CRST, and I'll update you with how that goes and everything and what that's all about. And with that in mind, I hope this video was helpful, and God bless you guys. See you later.